These days, we're all spending an awful lot of time at home. Whether by choice or not, it really is probably the safest place for many of us to be. Imagine being in a home that wasn't safe, that was being overrun because of natural or man-made disasters, or being forced out of your home because there was no food, or even being forced out of your country because people didn't agree with the way you saw things. Well, today I'm going to introduce you to 4 very special guests. And what I'm hoping you do is something we haven't been able to do for a long time either. And that's to invite these 4 special guests to your table. Well, not really to your table, but virtually to your table. This year's UUSC Guest at Your Table box centers around home and what we can do to help others around the world and here in the United States feel safer being at their home. First, let's take a trip down to southern Louisiana. This is where we will meet a leader of a tribe of indigenous peoples who can trace their ancestors back to the very first people we know who lived in this area. Chief Cheryl has been advocating for her community as long as she can remember. She has seen the land her tribe calls home drastically change in her lifetime. Rising sea levels and saltwater infiltration have destroyed homes and farmland that her tribe depends on. Recently, Chief Cheryl joined with other First Nations and Indigenous people facing similar climate force displacement, taking their fight all the way to the United Nations. Chief Cheryl explains it like this. We have joined together with our Alaskan relatives to bring awareness to the damages caused by greed and selfishness, with a complete disregard for Mother Earth and all living beings. We are showing the world that you do not have to just sit by and watch our planet, our health, and our lifeways be destroyed. Thousands of miles away, across the Pacific Ocean, Mark Steege, a climate researcher, is working on similar climate issues facing communities in the Marshall Islands. Mark is an Indigenous scientist and is committed to involving his community in the climate crisis research so they can fully understand what they are facing and what to plan for. Collaboration is key to handle complexity, he says, and so I've been motivated to develop the tools for collaboration by sharing and adapting both Western and Indigenous knowledge to promote innovation and identity. Not only does the UUSC partner with people who are trying to protect their homes, they also partner with those who have been forced to find a new home elsewhere. This brings us a short jaunt from the Marshall Islands. This brings us just a short jaunt from the Marshall Islands to the country of Burma, also known as Myanmar. Since 2017, over 700,000 Rohingya Muslims have been forced to flee their home in Burma to neighboring countries. This is due to the violence against them by the government. This is Suji. As a teenager, he was arrested for going to school. He had to escape his home to avoid punishment by local authorities. To build a new community in his new home country, Suji co-founded the Elam Empowerment Community Center, a community center based in Malaysia that has had trainings for youth as well as helps distribute food to other refugees who have had to flee Burma. Suji says, "We try to build that sense of community wherever we are, wherever we live." Of course, the Rohingya Muslims who were forced out long to return to their home country. But for the time being, Suji works with other Rohingya leaders to provide a space where refugees can feel safe and free. Back across the Pacific Ocean, over in Central America, migrants are seeking a place they can feel free as well. People who live in countries such as Guatemala are still dealing with the aftermath of civil wars, as well as the current climate change bringing drought to the area, local governments forcing people from their homes in their country, and mining and industrialization that is ruining their land. Adela Ramirez is a human rights advocate in Guatemala. She says, "The majority of people live here in conditions that are not good, and poverty prevents them from fully living their lives. People cross the borders in search of new opportunities for their families. That is why we always say, migrating is an act of love." Wow, this is a lot to process. With acts as cruel and small-minded as these, what can we do to prove that no matter where we are in this world, we are connected? That's why I ask you to invite these 4 people to your table. So, starting today, we're asking you to come and pick up your guest at your table box. There will be some available right outside the front door of the church, so just swing on by and pick them up. They'll be there until supplies run out. And for the next 4 weeks, make this box the center of your table. Make it the center point for discussions about things that are happening around the world. Maybe take some extra change or dollars or even checks, or there's a website right on here where you can go and donate directly to the UUSC. And we're asking you to help these people in partnership with the UUSC, assuring that everybody has a safe place to call home.